everyone, Sergeant Gonzo Boogie here again, back for another DVD video. And in this video I was going to show you guys my entire Dario Argento collection, my DVDs and my VHSs, and I also have a CD I was going to show at the end that's Dario Argento related. And I'm a huge fan of Argento's movies. Over the years his movies have really grown on me, and I would have to say he's probably one of my favorite horror directors. I just think he has an extremely unique style, and just he's really creative with the style of the movies he does. I love the music he uses. The stories he usually has are really cool, really well written, and the kill scenes are usually just really well filmed, and the choreography on them is great. Just, you know, there's different multiple shots, and most of these kill scenes run on for like 5 minutes or so, and it's just beautiful stuff. Some of the best kill scenes in any horror movies ever are from Argento's movies, and he's also really known for his lighting, which is great in his movies. He uses really bright reds, blues, purples, and greens, which really define his artistic style of his movies. It really gives his movies like a unique look to them. Like, you know you're watching an Argento movie when you see a scene from like Suspiria and it's all lit in red lighting and it's switching to blue lighting and everything. I just think his movies look beautiful. He does a great job, and his movies are really smart, well written, just good stuff. And he kind of created the film style giallo. Like, it had already existed before that, just like before Friday the 13th and Halloween, slasher movies already existed. They just didn't really become a genre of their own until they hit it big with like Halloween. Same thing with the giallo. It had already been around, but Argento with Suspiria, in my opinion, really made it a thing. Like, in all the other Italian directors, I felt like we're kind of trying to emulate his work after that, do something similar to what he was doing with really violent gore scenes and just plots that, you know, you try to figure out who the murderer is type stories. And he's just great. I love his movies. When I would say from Deep Red to Opera, I think are his best films, even though I haven't seen some of his earlier work, like his Animal trilogy or whatever it is. I haven't seen any of those yet, so I can't really talk about those, but I'm, you know, definitely looking forward to checking those out. They seem awesome. But from Deep Red to Opera, I think it's some of his best work, and it really defined him as a director. And I have to say his movies are really cool too. The style of his movies, the music and everything really works, and it makes his movies come off really cool. Like, I almost feel like directors like Quentin Tarantino, who are going for that like hip, cool feel in their movies, they're kind of trying to do in a way what Argento was doing at this time, just making cool movies. You know, he just did it great too. So I'm gonna stop blabbering away here, and I'll show you guys my collection. Start off with the DVDs here. First off is Deep Red, which is just an awesome giallo. Great story here. You try to figure out who the murderer is in this, and there's a lot of cool twists and turns, and just a fun movie. This movie's funny at certain points, but also it's really scary. Like, this is a really well done movie, really suspenseful, everything about it. The Goblin music on this is great, one of their best soundtracks in my opinion. Just good stuff all around. Awesome here. This is the Anchor Bay release of this. Show you guys a peek at the insert real quick. Really cool stuff here. And next up is Suspiria, which is kind of like the ultimate Dario Argento film. I think it's his best movie, and it just really, I think, shows what he can do as a director, and I think it shows it best almost, because it uses everything he's known for really well in this, with the elaborate death scenes and everything like that. Just a fantastic horror movie here. One of my favorite horror movies in general right here. Definitely my favorite Argento though. But this is really cool. The story of this has to do with like witches and black magic and all that. Just it's a really interesting story, and this kind of started a formula that Argento used in a lot of his other movies, where it stars a female main character who is studying some form of art, like music or dance or something like that, and she gets caught up in some crazy shit. And this is like the first movie that really kind of followed that formula. I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's just the basic rundown of kind of what the formula is. And I just think it works good. I think it's a cool formula, and I'm glad he used that for more of his movies, because it kind of gave his earlier films like a continuity to them. It seemed like they were somehow all not really connected, but they all just fit really well. Like he did a lot of the same things in each movie, so it just made them go together well, is what I'm trying to say. And they're just great movies. Suspiria, it's the single disc Anchor Bay edition. I also have the awesome 3-disc release of this movie, and this comes with a cool documentary on the second disc, and the third disc is the soundtrack by Goblin, which again, this is one of their best scores. Just really great stuff here. And this is just an awesome set. I'm not going to go through it really good here, but it comes with a ton of inserts. It comes with a booklet, some lobby card reproductions, some poster reproductions, stuff like that. Just everything you would want from a set. Here's the disc art on disc 2 and 3. Just a really nice looking set, and ever since I started to collect Anchor Bay DVDs, which was a long time ago now, this is one that I've always wanted to get, so I'm really glad that I have this. Next up is Inferno, also the Anchor Bay release of this. And this is kind of like a follow-up to Suspiria. I would say Suspiria and this, I wouldn't really call straight giallos. They're a little different. They have a little bit more to do with like weirder things. Like this has to do with alchemy, and Suspiria has a lot to do with witches and things. And I think they focus less on the whole giallo plot where you're trying to figure out the murder, even though you are trying to figure out what's going on in these movies. But it's like a little bit different than, I would say, a classic giallo story. I would say his movies like Tenebrae and Opera follow more of like a classic giallo story, whereas Suspiria and Inferno are kind of like their own thing, really like Argento's own like thing, and that's why I think they're probably two of his best movies, Inferno and Suspiria. But this is really cool. Just another great movie. This one has a lot of awesome people working on it with Argento. I know Lamberto Bava and Mario Bava both helped out on this movie with the effects and directing it. So it just has a lot of awesome people working on this. And of course, you know, you got Argento, which it just makes this great. Music by Keith Emerson on this one, who was in the prog band ELP. The music is on this is pretty good. He also did some of the music for Creepshow 2. So I'd say it's almost similar to that in a way, but not exactly. Next up is Tenebrae, and this is probably my third favorite Argento movie. Recently, I've just really started to like this movie. I remember at one point this was one of my least favorite Argento movies, but I almost think this is better than Inferno, and I would say almost just as good as like Suspiria and some of my other favorites from him. Just a really awesome movie. John Saxon is in this one, and this one kind of follows more of a giallo story, and it has a little less to do with the supernatural and all that. And this one, it's kind of about an author whose book is about like a murderer or something like that, and there's a murderer in real life who is kind of recreating some of the murders and stuff from the book. So it's kind of like a story like that, almost like Stephen King-ish. Reminds me of something Stephen King would do. But it's a really good story in my opinion, and really cool, and it has great music in this too. I'd say this was his first movie that used like rock and roll music that wasn't just a score, like it wasn't from Goblin or the members of Goblin. This actually features like rock and roll music from other bands and stuff like that, and I think it really fits for his movies. He followed this up in Phenomena and the Demons films, and I think it just adds a coolness to the movies. This gives them a really 80s vibe, which I think is cool. And the insert for this is really awesome too. Classic reproduction of the poster there. It's awesome stuff. Alright, next up is Phenomena, which is maybe my second favorite Argento movie. It's really hard to say with his movies because I think they're all really, really good. But this one's great. Again, the music in this is awesome. It's not just like soundtrack music. It also has regular rock and roll bands like Iron Maiden and Motorhead in this, so it just makes the movie really cool. Donald Pleasance is in this one, and I just love the look of this movie. It's just great, and the music, like I just mentioned, is just, I think this is one of the best scores, one of the best soundtracks for an Argento movie. Just a really cool movie here, and this one, I would say, almost kind of follows the thing with the Suspiria and Inferno one, where this one has a lot to do with like telekinetic powers and animals relationships to humans and stuff like that, which again, like this does follow like a classic giallo story, but it also has a little bit more to it than that. And then next up is Opera, which is classic. This is Argento's last 80s movie, and this is another one of my favorites. Just an awesome movie, great score, great everything about this movie. And this is an epic, just a really epic movie. And it's sort of similar to a Phantom of the Opera story, but not quite. But around the same guidelines, where there's a singer that this one person really wants to see on stage, and once she starts to sing on stage, a lot of strange things start to happen in the opera house, and people start to get murdered, and other stuff happens. But Argento gives this his classic treatment, and in my opinion, it beats any Phantom of the Opera story. Just a great movie right here. Really good stuff. And this is the Anchor Bay release. Again, I actually don't own any of the Blue Underground releases of Argento's movies. I've tried my hardest to get them all Anchor Bay, even though I know there's some that you can't get on Anchor Bay, but you know, that's not a big deal. I'll just buy them anyways. Alright, next up I have a couple Argento gift sets. These were released limited edition, and these are really cool. I have the Demons 1 and 2 set, and he actually just produced these movies, and I think he co-wrote the screenplay for the first one and maybe the second one too, but I know he co-wrote the screenplay for the first one. And these are just really cool movies. I would say they follow what he was doing in Tenebrae and Phenomena, and they use rock and roll music in this and everything else like that. The story for the first Demons movie is really cool. These people get handed these movie tickets by this mysterious guy to a movie theater that none of them have ever been to, and while they're there they get locked in, and sort of the events from the movie start to happen to the actual cast of this movie. So kind of cool with that. Really smart and ahead of its time with a story like that, in my opinion. And it's about them trying to deal with this and find their way out of the movie theater. Just classic 80s right here. I would say I would put this up with Return of the Living Dead, because this is almost like a zombie movie. The demons, I would say, are treated almost like zombies in this in a way, but they're faster, and they do some more things, especially more than the classic Romero zombie. And Demons 2 follows a very similar plot and uses a lot of the same cast members, so it's a really cool sequel. And this was actually the 2-pack I think I mentioned earlier in this video that I have, and this has Deep Red and Tenebrae on it. So I own both of those separate now, but for a while this was the only way I could watch both of those movies. But this is a great 2-pack. I actually found this at FYE, I think brand new, years ago now, but I was really excited about this when I found this at FYE. Really cool. It actually comes with both inserts that the separate editions come with, and it comes with both discs, so just really cool. And the Demons 2-pack also has both the inserts. And that is it for the Anchor Bay stuff. Actually, I got one more Anchor Bay. I guess I'll show that with this, which is Jennifer. This is the Masters of Horror released by Argento, and I actually haven't watched this yet, so I don't really know what it's about, but my friend Joel, who's a big Argento fan and has seen this a couple times, told me it was good, so definitely going to check this out. Mine came with the Dario Argento card. Really cool. And next up, I just have a couple more of his DVDs. I would say these are some of his sort of newer movies. right here we have Dario Argento's Phantom of the Opera, which I have not seen yet, but this is actually his take on the Phantom of the Opera story, which, like I said, his movie opera is similar to that, but different. So I'm interested to see what his take on the actual Phantom of the Opera story is, so really looking forward to checking this one out. And next up I have Mother of Tears, and this is actually supposed to be the third in the Suspiria series, the Three Mothers series, with Suspiria being the first one, Inferno being the second, and this being the third. But this movie came out in like 2007, I think, so it came out, you know, decades after the first one did. And I have not seen this yet, but I have a feeling that it's not going to be as good as Inferno or Suspiria, but I'm still looking forward to checking this one out. And then last for my DVDs is Argento's Dracula, and this I have seen a couple times, and it's pretty good. I would say it's definitely a huge tribute to the Hammer horror movies. Takes a lot of plot elements and ideas from different Hammer movies and kind of jams them together into one package. But I thought this was really cool, and I thought it was a really fun movie also. So I'd recommend this one. Alright, next up I have a couple tapes to show here. First off is Suspiria. It's just a kind of a basic tape here. I've seen cooler releases of Suspiria going on eBay before, but I was just glad to get this one anyways. I actually think my friend Mike might have bought this for me because he saw it at a thrift store and got it for me, but I can't remember now. But other than that, I'm really happy to have this one. Like I said, my favorite Argento. And then I also have Phenomena on tape, which is another one of my favorite films from him. And this is the Anchor Bay tape, which is cool. It has the same look as the DVD I have. It doesn't come with any insert or anything like that, but still a nice tape. And then last for this video is the Phenomena soundtrack, which I actually just picked this up recently. I picked this up probably last weekend, and I'm really excited about this. Like I mentioned when I was talking about Phenomena, the soundtrack for that movie is just awesome. Got some really cool songs on here. Like I said, it's got some stuff from Motorhead and Iron Maiden, Andy Sex Gang, which that's some like interesting like alternative punk stuff. It's really cool. I'd say my favorite song on this is the song The Valley. Really good stuff, and it has some songs from Goblin and some songs from the members of Goblin. Just an awesome soundtrack here. If you love the movie and like the soundtrack, I would recommend getting this, but this is really hard to find. This is actually an import from Italy, if you can see on the disc right there. Not sure if you can, but made in Italy. Really cool. I found this at a record store. It's 20 bucks. Definitely worth it in my opinion. Just because this is really hard to find, because there's another version of the soundtrack that just has the Goblin related songs by the band Goblin and the members of Goblin. It just has those songs, and it doesn't have the other rock and roll songs in it. And that's what I think makes this even cooler, that it includes the actual soundtrack that's used in the movie, because the one with just the Goblin songs has a lot of stuff that wasn't used in the movie, like from Goblin at the time, but it wasn't used in the movie. So I really think this is the way to go if you're trying to get the soundtrack for this. I actually wish I can get like Tenebrae and a couple of his other soundtracks like this with all the songs on it. Same thing with Demons. That would be awesome, but I know they're hard to find. But this is really cool. Probably one of my rarest CDs I have. I tried to look this up online to see how much it goes for. I couldn't even find it, so I'm guessing that means it's rare. But there's a couple other Argento soundtracks released by this company there, and they were going for about like 40-50 bucks each, so I'm guessing it's along that line. So I think it was a pretty good deal for 20 bucks, but really excited about this. But that was my Dario Argento collection, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, definitely give it a thumbs up and leave a comment, and thanks for watching.